There is a situation that confuses many people. The body feels tired, the eyes grow heavy, the muscles begin to relax, the bed is comfortable, the environment is quiet. And even so, the mind remains awake, thoughts continue running, attention stays alert, as if something still needed to be resolved, as if the day had not truly ended, as if the system were still on duty. This experience is more common than it seems. And it does not mean you have insomnia. It does not mean you are anxious. It does not mean something is wrong with you. It means your brain is still working, even when your body has already stopped. This difference between body and mind has a biological explanation. The body can rest, but the nervous system can remain active. And when that happens, rest does not become recovery. Rest becomes an incomplete pause. There is an important concept in physiology called residual activation. Residual activation is the state in which the system continues functioning even after the activity has ended. Imagine a fan, you turn off the switch, but the blades keep spinning for a few seconds. The motor stopped, but the movement continues. The nervous system works the same way. The day ends, tasks are completed, responsibilities decrease, but activation continues. This state can last minutes. It can last hours, and in some cases, it can last days, especially when the organism has gone through prolonged periods of demand. There is also an important factor related to the vagus nerve. The vagus nerve is one of the main structures responsible for relaxation in the body. It regulates breathing, heart rate, digestion, recovery, the sense of safety. When the vagus nerve is active, the body slows down, the mind becomes calmer. Breathing stabilizes, recovery begins, but when the system remains on alert, vagal activation decreases, and the body stays prepared, even when there is no threat. Another fundamental aspect appears at this point. The brain does not respond only to the present, it responds to history. If the organism lived through periods of constant pressure, the system learns vigilance. If the organism lived through periods of intense responsibility, the system learns readiness. If the organism lived through periods of uncertainty, the system learns protection. This learning creates a pattern, an automatic pattern, a silent pattern, a persistent pattern. That pattern can remain active even when life improves, even when the environment becomes safe, even when the body tries to rest. There is also a concept known in psychosomatic science. The body records experiences, not only in memory, but in physiology. Muscle tension, shallow breathing, defensive posture, increased sensitivity. These signals can remain even after the event has ended. This bodily record explains why some people lie down to sleep, but feel their body tense, as if waiting for something, as if prepared, as if still on alert. Another important concept helps explain this. Chronobiology. Chronobiology is the study of biological rhythms. The body operates in cycles, cycles of energy, cycles of attention, cycles of rest, cycles of recovery. The most well-known is the circadian rhythm. This rhythm regulates sleep, body temperature, hormone, release, energy, mood. When this rhythm becomes disorganized, rest loses efficiency. The body may lie down, but it does not recover. The organism may sleep, but it does not restore. Another relevant detail emerges here. The brain needs predictability, consistent schedules, stable routines, predictable environments. These elements signal safety. Without predictability, the system remains attentive, even during rest. Another essential aspect involves nutrition. The brain consumes energy constantly. It depends on nutrients. It depends on glucose. It depends on minerals. It depends on vitamins. When nutrition is irregular, the system needs to work harder. It needs to compensate. It needs to adapt. This additional effort can keep the brain active, even when the body is still. There is also an important connection between the gut and the brain. This connection is called the gut-brain axis. The gut produces substances that influence mood, influence energy, influence attention, influence sleep. When gut health is compromised, Emotional regulation can become unstable. Recovery can become slower. Rest can become shallow. This functioning is not psychological, it is biological. Another fundamental point involves physical activity. The body was designed to move. Movement regulates energy. Movement regulates tension. Movement regulates emotion. Without movement, energy is not released. Tension is not discharged. The system remains activated, even at rest. This state creates a curious sensation. The body is tired, but the mind remains fast. This sensation is not contradiction. It is accumulation. Accumulation of energy. Accumulation of tension. Accumulation of stimulation. And this accumulation needs to be processed, not simply interrupted. Another important concept appears here. True restorative sleep. Sleeping does not mean recovering. Recovering means restoring balance. This process depends on safety, biological rhythm, nutrition, movement, emotional regulation. When these factors are misaligned, sleep becomes shallow, rest becomes incomplete, recovery becomes slow, and the brain keeps working, even when the body is lying down. Another relevant detail involves the mind. The mind learns patterns, learns responses, learns expectations. This learning can occur through repetition, through experience, through conditioning. In clinical hypnosis, for example, it is observed that the system can respond automatically to familiar stimuli. In neurolinguistic programming, it is observed that the brain creates shortcuts, behavioral shortcuts, perceptual shortcuts, response shortcuts. These shortcuts save energy, but they also maintain patterns, even when those patterns are no longer necessary. This mechanism explains why some people relax physically, but remain mentally alert. The body changed, but the pattern remained. Another important concept appears here: physiological coherence. Physiological coherence occurs when body, mind, and emotion function in synchrony. Breathing becomes steady. Heart rhythm becomes regular. Attention becomes balanced. Emotional state becomes regulated. When this coherence happens, rest becomes deep. Sleep becomes restorative. Recovery becomes efficient. But when this coherence breaks, the system remains in effort, even in silence, even at rest, even during the night. This understanding completely changes the interpretation of the experience. You are not failing. Your system is still active. There is a detail many people have never considered. The body can stop, but the system may not have finished. Throughout the day, the brain accumulates information, accumulates decisions, accumulates stimulation, accumulates tension. This accumulation creates something called neural load. Neural load is the volume of processing the system still needs to complete. Even after the activity ends, even after tasks are finished, even after the body lies down, this processing does not disappear. It continues, quietly, gradually, automatically. This functioning is natural, but it can create an unexpected effect. The mind remains active, even when the body is tired. There is also a phenomenon called incomplete physiological discharge. During situations of effort, physical or emotional, the organism mobilizes energy, attention increases, circulation increases, muscle tension increases, vigilance increases. This state prepares the body to act. But when action does not occur, energy remains accumulated. The system stays mobilized, like a car with the engine running, but not moving. This pattern can keep the brain alert, even when the environment is safe. Another important concept emerges here: implicit body memory. The body learns experiences and records responses, not only in thoughts, but in reflexes, in posture, in breathing patterns, in levels of tension. This learning does not depend on conscious memory. It depends on repetition. If the system lived through periods of pressure, it learns readiness. If it lived through periods of urgency, it learns speed. If it lived through periods of instability, it learns vigilance. These learnings remain in the body, even when the situation changes, Another relevant aspect involves what is called the biological recovery window. The organism does not recover energy continuously. It recovers in cycles, in specific moments, in periods of stability. If these periods are interrupted, recovery does not complete. This detail helps explain why some people sleep for many hours, but wake up tired. The body slept, but did not recover. Another important factor appears at this point. The brain has a metabolic surveillance system. This system monitors available energy, glucose levels, inflammatory state, hormonal balance. When the organism detects instability, it maintains elevated attention, even during rest. This mechanism is not psychological, it is physiological. It exists to protect. Another essential concept helps explain this. Functional circadian misalignment. The body has an internal clock. This clock regulates sleep energy, temperature, hormones, attention. When this clock loses synchronization, the system works out of rhythm, and working out of rhythm consumes more energy, more effort, more adaptation. This misalignment can occur for several reasons: irregular schedules, excessive nighttime stimulation, lack of natural light, frequent routine changes. This imbalance does not prevent sleep, but it reduces sleep quality. There is also a process called progressive autonomic regulation. The nervous system does not change state instantly. It transitions, gradually, step by step, between alertness and relaxation, between activity and recovery. This transition requires time. Without time, the system remains on alert. Another relevant phenomenon appears here: physiological micro-awakenings. During sleep, the brain may briefly awaken, for seconds, without awareness. These micro-awakenings are natural, but when they occur frequently, they fragment rest. The body sleeps, but does not deepen. Sleep happens, but recovery does not complete. This pattern can occur when the system remains vigilant, even during the night. Another important concept involves emotional homeostasis. Homeostasis is internal balance. Emotions also need balance. Throughout the day, the organism processes emotional experiences: frustration, responsibility, expectation, pressure. These experiences generate activation. If they are not processed, this activation remains, even during rest. Another important detail appears here. The brain does not rest only when the body stops. It rests when it senses safety: physiological safety, emotional safety, environmental safety. Without that sensation, the system remains attentive. Another relevant aspect involves breathing. Breathing regulates the nervous system. Shallow breathing maintains vigilance. Deep breathing signals safety. This mechanism is mediated by the vagus nerve. The vagus nerve functions like a biological brake. It slows the heart, reduces tension, promotes recovery. When this brake is not activated, the system remains accelerated. Another important point appears here. The body needs contrast: periods of activity, periods of rest, periods of silence, periods of movement. Without contrast, the system loses reference and loses efficiency. This understanding completely changes the interpretation of fatigue. Fatigue does not mean only lack of sleep. It may mean lack of recovery. It may mean excess vigilance. It may mean accumulated stimulation. Another important concept appears at this point: emotional resilience. Emotional resilience does not mean absence of emotion. It means the ability to recover, the ability to regulate, the ability to return to balance. This return depends on practice, depends on experience, depends on safety. Another fundamental aspect emerges here. The brain does not seek only rest. It seeks predictability. Predictability reduces effort. Predictability reduces vigilance. Predictability allows recovery. Without predictability, the system remains attentive, even during sleep. Another relevant detail involves the environment: light, temperature, noise. These factors influence the nervous system, especially during the night. Environments that are too bright, too warm, or overly stimulating keep the brain active. Another important concept emerges here: behavioral chronobiology. Behavioral chronobiology is the study of how habits influence the biological clock. Small daily changes can profoundly alter the rhythm of the organism, and rhythm determines the quality of recovery. This understanding opens a new perspective. Rest does not depend only on lying down. It depends on synchronization, synchronizing the body, synchronizing the mind, synchronizing the environment. Another essential detail appears here. The brain does not work in isolation. It works in networks: hormonal networks, neural networks, immune networks, metabolic networks. When one of these networks becomes dysregulated, the others compensate. This compensation keeps the system functioning, but increases effort, and prolonged effort reduces recovery. This functioning explains a common experience. The body is tired, but the brain remains active, not by choice, but by protection. There is a phenomenon many people describe, but rarely understand. The body is still, but the mind keeps working. The eyes are closed, but the brain remains attentive. Silence is present, but the feeling of rest does not appear. This state can be called mind-body decoupling. Mind-body decoupling occurs when the body enters rest, but the nervous system has not yet made the transition into recovery. This transition is essential because true rest does not depend only on stopping. It depends on changing states. There is an important detail here. The nervous system does not operate in just two modes. It does not function only in alert or relaxation. It functions in levels: gradual levels, progressive levels, adaptive levels. Between full alertness and deep rest, there is an intermediate zone, a state called baseline readiness. In this state, the body appears relaxed, but remains prepared. Breathing slows, but does not deepen. Muscles relax, but retain residual tension. The mind slows, but does not fully disengage. This state is common, especially in people who have lived through prolonged periods of responsibility, or pressure, or vigilance. Another important concept helps explain this phenomenon: regulation fatigue. Regulation fatigue occurs when the system needs to adjust constantly, regulate emotions, regulate attention, regulate behavior, regulate energy. This continuous effort consumes resources: mental resources, physical resources, emotional resources. When these resources become depleted, the organism loses efficiency. Rest happens, but recovery does not complete. Another relevant detail emerges here. The brain functions as a prediction system. It does not simply wait for events to happen. It tries to anticipate. It tries to forecast. It tries to prepare. This functioning is called the body prediction system. This system monitors signals, changes, patterns, risks. When it detects instability, it increases vigilance, even without immediate danger. This mechanism is useful, but it can keep the brain active, even during rest. Another important aspect involves silent inflammatory load. The body reacts to stress, to effort, to food, to the environment. This reaction can generate low-grade inflammation, almost imperceptible, but enough to keep the system alert. This state can alter energy, sleep, attention, mood recovery. This process is not disease, it is adaptation. But continuous adaptation consumes energy. Another essential concept appears here: autonomic plasticity. Autonomic plasticity is the nervous system's ability to adapt, to learn, to reorganize, to change. This process is slow, gradual, progressive, and depends on repetition. Consistent experiences create new patterns, new rhythms, new states. Without repetition, the system maintains the old pattern. Another important detail emerges here. The body does not function only in daily cycles. It also operates in smaller cycles, called ultradian rhythms. These rhythms last approximately 90 to 120 minutes. During these cycles, the organism alternates energy, attention, recovery, activity. If these cycles are ignored, the system loses efficiency and fatigue increases. Another fundamental concept appears here: deep parasympathetic recovery. The nervous system has a branch responsible for recovery, called the parasympathetic system. This system reduces heart rate, promotes digestion, facilitates sleep, restores energy. But this system requires conditions. It requires safety. It requires stability. It requires predictability. Without these conditions, recovery does not complete. Another relevant detail involves the state of baseline readiness. This state keeps the organism prepared, even during rest. This mechanism was essential for survival. But in the modern world, it can become excessive, especially when the system receives constant stimulation. Another important aspect emerges here. The brain learns through repetition. If the body lived through periods of tension, it learns tension. If it lived through periods of urgency, it learns speed. If it lived through periods of alertness, it learns vigilance. This learning creates automatic patterns that persist even when the situation changes. Another essential concept appears here: mind-body coherence. Mind-body coherence occurs when thoughts, emotions, and physiology are aligned. When this alignment happens, the system conserves energy, recovers faster, rests more deeply. But when this alignment breaks, the organism enters effort, even at rest. Another important detail involves the autonomic nervous system. This system regulates automatic functions: breathing, circulation, digestion, sleep. When this system is balanced, rest happens naturally. When it becomes dysregulated, rest becomes shallow. Another relevant aspect emerges here. The brain does not seek only rest. It seeks safety, internal safety, emotional safety, physiological safety. Without that sensation, the system remains attentive. Another important concept appears at this point: accumulated emotional energy. Throughout the day, the organism experiences emotions: expectation, responsibility, pressure, uncertainty. These emotions generate activation. If they are not processed, this activation remains, even during rest. Another fundamental detail emerges here. The body needs closure: physiological closure, emotional closure, mental closure. Without closure, the system remains open, like a file that was never closed. This state keeps the brain active, even during sleep. This understanding reveals something important. Rest does not depend only on time. It depends on completion. It depends on closure. It depends on safety. Another essential aspect appears here. The brain does not shut down. It changes function. During rest, it organizes, integrates, processes, recovers. This process is invisible, but essential. Without it, the organism remains tired, even after sleeping. Another relevant detail emerges here. The body may be still, but the system is still resolving. This resolution may involve memories, emotions, experiences, decisions. This internal work is necessary, but it requires energy. And while this work continues, the brain remains active. This functioning explains a common experience. A person lies down. The body relaxes, but the mind keeps working, not because of error, but because of continuity. There is a moment when everything seems to be in order. The day has ended, tasks are finished, the environment is quiet, the body is lying down, the eyes are closed, but something inside you continues working, as if one part of the system were still active, as if one part of the brain were still watching, as if the organism were still preparing. This experience is not strange. It is biological. The body can stop, but the system needs to complete. Throughout the day, the brain records stimulation, records decisions, records emotions, records tension. These records do not disappear immediately. They need to be organized, processed, integrated. This work happens mainly during rest. There is an important concept in neuroscience called neural integration. Neural integration is the process through which the brain connects experiences, connects memories, connects emotions, connects learning. This process transforms experience into understanding. transforms effort into adaptation, transforms experience into balance. But this process requires time, real time, biological time, physiological time. Another fundamental concept appears here: physiological closure. Physiological closure is the moment when the system recognizes that an activity has ended, that an experience has ended, that an effort has ended. Without this recognition, the brain remains prepared, remains attentive, remains functioning. This detail helps explain why some people wake up tired, not because they slept too little, but because the system never closed the day. Another important aspect involves the vagus nerve. The vagus nerve functions like a messenger of safety. When it sends signals of stability, the body slows down, breathing deepens, digestion improves, sleep becomes restorative. But when those signals do not arrive, the system remains on alert. Another essential factor emerges here. The brain interprets the body. It reads signals, reads breathing, reads heart rhythm, reads tension. When those signals indicate instability, the system maintains vigilance, even during rest. This functioning is called body feedback. The body informs, the brain responds. The brain informs, the body responds. This dialogue is continuous. Another important concept appears here: physiological emotional regulation. Emotions do not exist only in the mind. They exist in the body. They change heart rhythm. They change breathing. They change muscle tension. They change energy. When emotions remain unresolved, the body stays activated, even at rest. Another relevant detail involves the gut. The gut produces neurotransmitters, produces chemical signals, produces biological messages. These messages influence mood, influence energy, influence sleep. When the gut is out of balance, the brain receives alert signals, even without danger. This mechanism is part of the gut-brain axis, a system of constant communication. Another fundamental aspect involves nutrition. The brain consumes energy continuously, even during sleep. It depends on fuel. It depends on micronutrients. It depends on metabolic balance. When the organism needs to compensate for deficiencies, the system remains active. This additional effort reduces recovery. Another important detail appears here. Movement regulates the nervous system. Movement releases tension. Movement reorganizes energy. Movement signals safety. Without movement, energy remains accumulated. Tension remains stored. The system remains alert. This understanding completely changes the interpretation of rest. Rest is not the absence of activity. Rest is reorganization. Another important concept appears at this point: inner strength. Inner strength does not mean the absence of difficulty. It means the ability to return to balance, the ability to recover, the ability to regulate. This capacity depends on harmony between body, mind, emotion, environment. Another relevant aspect involves the circadian rhythm. The body follows rhythms, predictable rhythms, biological rhythms, natural rhythms. When these rhythms are respected, the system recovers. When these rhythms are disrupted, the system remains in effort. Another essential concept appears here: true restorative sleep. Restorative sleep does not depend only on duration. It depends on depth. It depends on stability. It depends on safety. It depends on physiological coherence. Without coherence, the body sleeps, but does not recover. Another important detail appears here. The brain seeks coherence, seeks predictability, seeks stability. When it finds these elements, it reduces vigilance, reduces tension, reduces effort. This process allows true rest. Another fundamental aspect appears at this point. The nervous system learns safety, learns calm, learns stability. This learning happens through repeated experience. Consistent experiences create trust. Trust creates relaxation. Relaxation creates recovery. Recovery creates energy. This cycle is natural, and it can be rebuilt. Now consider something essential. Rest does not begin when you lie down. Rest begins when the system feels safe. This realization changes everything, because the body may be still, but the brain may be protecting. and protection requires vigilance. Another important detail appears here. The brain is not working against you. It is working for you. It is trying to protect, trying to prepare, trying to maintain stability. This understanding completely changes the interpretation of the experience. You are not failing. Your system is trying to take care of you. Now notice the main insights from this video. You may have realized that the body can rest while the brain remains active. That recovery depends on physiological closure. That the vagus nerve plays an essential role in relaxation. That the gut influences mood and sleep. That nutrition influences energy and recovery. That movement regulates the nervous system. That the circadian rhythm determines the quality of rest. That restorative sleep depends on safety. That the brain seeks stability. That the system learns patterns. And that true rest depends on harmony. Harmony between body, mind, emotion, environment. If, at any moment during this video, something made you pause, if a particular explanation helped clarify an experience you could never quite name, or if one of these ideas allowed you to see your own fatigue from a new perspective, that realization is worth holding on to. You might express it as a simple sentence, a new understanding, a meaningful insight, or a quiet turning point. Writing that discovery in the comments is more than participation. It is a way of strengthening awareness. It is a way of transforming understanding into clarity. And very often, when one person shares what they have learned, someone else finally recognizes their own story. There is still an important question that naturally follows. Why do some people remain tired, even after sleeping? Why does the body rest, but energy does not return? Why does sleep happen, but recovery never fully arrives? That is exactly the question we will explore in the next video. Because sometimes, the problem is not lack of sleep. The problem is lack of recovery.